Thanksgiving, really around the corner there. I had one Halloween decoration I forgot to take down, so I pulled this sucker up this morning there, and kind of as I was like putting it in the box there, kind of gave me an idea for something funny. So ready, Boston socks. Get it? Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. And one of the biggest shockers ever, Aaron Judge becomes the 2025 American League MVP. Kind of knew it was going to happen, but actually the contest was a little closer than we thought it would be, but ultimately the voters going with Aaron Judge there, so he's now the 2025 American League MVP. And not really going to go over the stats, we kind of beat that to death, but kind of the numbers of the first and second, third round there, and who got what and how many votes and all that stuff there, so we'll kind of break that down there. But of course, Judge, easy to clear winner there, but it was kind of a little closer than we thought it would be. But nevertheless, if you're a Yankee fan, I guess you're happy with that. And even more happy, I guess, if you're a Trent Grisham fan. It turns out he will be accepting the Yankees qualifying offer. It was actually... He could have actually been elected for free agency, but it looks like he wants to stick with the Yankees at least for one more year. So we'll kind of get into that thing and all the numbers there. Obviously, he's going to get a big pay raise, but again, it's only for 1 year. So, was it a good decision on it? Is he gambling a little bit there? So we'll get into that. And the Yankees also make some moves with the bullpen, re-signing Ryan Yarbrough, who, I felt was, good for the Yankees last season and kind of made sense. And not shocked that they brought him back there. I mean, I know they also re-signed Tim Hill recently, but Yankees, then again, restocking the bullpen with a couple of good lefties that were, maybe a little longer in the tooth in terms of age, but were effective for them during the 2025 season. So good to see them come back. And of course, like we pretty much do this every single offseason. Japan's going to send us some fresh imports there. So a couple players looking to perhaps bring the talents to Major League Baseball. And if you're not too familiar with them, we'll kind of give you the background on them. One pitcher, one third baseman. If you don't know about them, we'll sprinkle some knowledge in you on that. And of course, we have of course domestic free agents, and one of them being this guy. Plays across town in City Field. His name is Pete Alonso. He's a first baseman. Maybe Paul Goldschmidt potentially done with the Yankees there. And I know the Yankees have Ben Rice, but the Yankees want to consider someone, Pete Alonso there, a power hitter, would be, pretty good comparable in that Yankee lineup, but a couple other power hitters. Would it make sense for the Yankees there? So kind of break down Pete Alonso, whether it would make sense for the Yankees there. So got a little, got a little Aaron Judge for you there, got a little Trent Grisham, a little Japanese import players there, and maybe some Pete Alonso there. So got plenty for you this episode. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the audio podcast version of Section 420 Talkin Yankees. So as much as you want to see me, we got the whole offseason there. You want to get my takes quicker, i.e., right after Judge was elected to the MVP there, you could have got my take right away and not have to wait a whole week and a half for an episode there. So wherever you get your favorite audio podcast, look for Section 420 Talk Yankees podcast. Subscribe there. If you're watching on TV, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel here on YouTube there. Get everything this winter. So I guess, if you're a Yankee fan, I guess the last silver lining of the season is whether Aaron Judge was going to be the American League MVP. And, I'm not going to go too crazy in numbers because we kind of broke it down. Of course, guest standing way is, of course, Cal Raleigh, who, again, had a breakout, fantastic season. And not only just, having a 60 home run season, but doing it as a catcher, which is a very grueling position, so that you want to get through the dog days of summer. And you get the kind of the special caveat that he's a switch hitter. So the whole idea is, Aaron Judge going for his second MVP in a row in the third of his career versus Cal Raleigh, for his first time. And, how would the judges look at it? Would they maybe kind of lean towards Cal Raleigh just because, hey, Judge got a couple already, and this guy's having a kind of a miraculous breakout season. Just give it to him there. Now, we went through the numbers in previous episodes, and I'm not going to beat it to death, this episode here, there, but clearly Judge was the clear, deserved him way more than Cal Raleigh. Only thing Cal Raleigh had over Aaron Judge is that he played more games. Now, of course, we remember Judge back in July. He was dealing with the elbow issue that took him out for a couple of weeks there. So, that affected Judge's home run total as well as his games played and RBIs. So, at the end of the day, Cal Raleigh had more home runs than Aaron Judge, and he had more RBIs than Aaron Judge. Other than that, all the other statistics, especially, these WAR and slugging percentages and OBPs and OPP, me, all those stats there clearly went to Aaron Judge. And not only went to Aaron Judge, but in a big way where, even though, Judge got a couple before there, it's still definitely, you can see the way he's dominating the American League. A lot of times, all baseball, but specifically dominating the American League over Cal Raleigh, even though Cal Raleigh did great with your home runs there, but all the other statistics to show Judge is overwhelmingly the clear victor there, more deserving. However, though, in the voting, though, it was a little closer than we thought it would be. So ultimately, Judge got 17 of the 30 first-round votes, so 17 went to Judge, 13 went to Cal Raleigh. So, Judge only won by 4 first-round votes there. So, again, kind of tight, despite the fact that, again, Judge was leading Cal Raleigh in almost all the key categories. So Judge got that, as well as total points. Judge with 355, Cal Raleigh with 20 less at 335. So, again, still pretty closer there than you thought it would be. Now, interesting enough, last season, there was really no one to challenge Judge. Judge was the unanimous first round, got the unanimous vote there for the MVP. This time, a little bit closer, even though, again, Judge leading in a lot of the other key categories. And then coming in third, which I didn't get a chance to mention on the audio podcast, and, we'll just give a little shout out to Jose Ramirez with 224 of total votes there. So, thanks for playing. But nevertheless, Judge there, your winner. And not only the winner for Judge, becomes the 13th player to get a minimum of 3 MVPs, and he joined some other Yankees. You might have heard of them: Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra. So really solidifying his place in Yankee history. And again, Judge only 34 years old, and kind of interesting enough, he almost had a bit of a down year this season, which is crazy, as you can see, and plus he got hurt a little bit. So even on a year that he didn't seem like he was judged at various points, still pulled off an MVP. So really no reason to believe that he has another 1 or 2 left in his back pocket there, maybe even 3, who knows at this point there. It doesn't really seem like any signs of him slowing down, but nevertheless, and in terms of history, Judge with his .331 batting average wins the batting title for the major leagues, and the fact that he has the batting title and 50 or more home runs. He joins an elite class of a couple other players who, again, won the batting title and have had 50 or more home runs, one of them being Mickey Mantle in 1956, and that's the Triple Crown season, and the other slugger, Jimmy Fox, back in 1938. So, again, Judge now is only of 1 of 3 players who have even done that. So, really just making history with each passing year. And again, I'm not going to give you the actual numbers there because I don't want you to beat it to death. I know previous numbers have been throwing a lot of numbers at you, but just the fact he led all majors in on-base percentage, slugging, on-base plus slugging, times on base with 310, led intentional walks. I don't know if you saw that graphic on MLB Network before they really announced the awards. I mean, Judge himself intentionally walked more himself than some other teams combined there. Just shows us the dominance of the game there. And nevertheless, imagine, let's say the amount of times he was intentionally walked, if actually pitches thrown to him, how many more home runs he could hit, how much higher his batting average could potentially be, and leading all major league in WAR. That's wins above replacement with 10.1. So this means just the fact that Aaron Judge is on and playing for the Yankees, they get 10 more wins versus if someone else was playing in a spot there. And if you wanted to dumb it down a little bit, one level to the American League, led the American League in runs, walks, extra base hits, and total bases with 372. So as I mentioned before, all these different categories there, Judge is clearly the top there, not only Major League Baseball, a lot in the American League there. So to no surprise, that's why I thought he was well deserving of the American League, the MVP. A little closer than I thought it would be, and I just think maybe a couple of writers there, have a vote there. Just maybe this had a little bit biased, just because Judge had a couple already there. But if you just look at all these categories there, Judge was the clear winner. And I got to understand, again, mentioned at the top there, Cal Raleigh. Yes, you're doing it as a switch hitter, you're doing it as a catcher. It's a very grueling position, so you have to take that into account. But Cal Raleigh, his batting average was 247. Judge hit 90 points higher than him. So even though, Cal Raleigh has a couple more home runs and a couple more RBIs there, but Judge is hitting 90 points higher than him there. That and everything else there, clearly Aaron Judge is your MVP, well deserving of it. And it's just a shame that in 2023 he got hurt, because we know he got the MVP in 2022 that was his 62 home run season. If he could have just not got hurt in 2023, you're talking about a guy who might be ripping off 4 MVPs in a row there. So, but that's unfortunate. But nevertheless, congratulations, Aaron Judge, and really winning this award kind of puts the baseball season to bed, and that's really the last thing you're really thinking about. Now, over in the National League, just to give a mention, Shohei Ohtani, to no surprise as well. So a little kind of a rematch there, kind of a redo. Judge and Ohtani got it last year. They got it this year. So for Ohtani, his 4th of his career. Now, if he's kind of looking of who's got the most all-time, that'll be Barry Bonds with 7 there. So let's see Ohtani, does that opportunity. Again, he's same like Aaron Judge. You don't see any signs of him slowing down there. So might have an opportunity to catch Barry Bonds. Seems unlikely, but at least he's out there. But again, we'll focus on Aaron Judge. So congratulations to him, your American League MVP. Now getting to the business side of baseball, as we enter the winter here, because Brian Cashman is looking to build this roster for the 2026 season. One of the questions is going to be the outfield. And the Yankees so far could potentially lose Cody Bellinger to free agency. I mean, he opted out of his deal there, so he's going to test the free agency market. Doesn't mean the Yankees can't bring him back there. But one at least opportunity the Yankees did have was Trent Grisham. Give him a qualifying offer to see if he would take it. At least it would prevent him from entering free agency. And again, this is off of him coming off a 30-plus home run season, where you would think it would make sense for him to test the free agency market. This, of course, when is he going to have a season like that again? So a little bit of a gamble for him. Now he had till November 18th to make the decision. Now the Yankee qualifying offer was $22.025 million. Now this past season, the Yankees only paid him $5 million, and look at the production you got from him in this. So if in terms of value per dollar, I mean, Cashman got a lot of value per dollar for that $5 million there. But obviously after the season he had there, they're going to have to up the offer there, so they upped it to $22 million plus. But if you're Trent Grisham there, you have to make a decision. All right, do I just take this one-year offer, which is pretty damn good? If you go from a pay raise of $17 million, from $5 million to $22 million, hey, that's a big pay raise for 1 year. But it's only a one-year deal. What if Trent Grisham, has maybe a subpar, a poor 2026? Then he hits free agency, and he's like, all right, well, he's not going to get any big offer, big deals. Whereas, so it's like if you're Trent Grisham, maybe you test the free agency market, and maybe you don't get $22 million there, but maybe somebody gives you like, 17 or 18 million for 3 years, and maybe you're better off doing it that way. That's what I thought he would do. I mean, just business-wise, that made better sense. But again, I understand maybe, even though you're looking for a bit of a longer-term deal, maybe just you want your ceiling to be higher, and the ceiling at $22 million is kind of high there, so maybe you want to set that ceiling, have another good season, and then if you go to free agency next year, that's when you could, again, maybe stay around the low 20s or even higher there. That's what he's betting on. So he's kind of betting on himself there, so congratulations to that. I don't think it's the wisest move, but nevertheless, it means the Yankees get to keep him. I'm okay with him. Again, 29 years old. Gold Glove caliber defender. Again, won the Gold Glove in 2020 as well as 2022. Maybe is he that good defensively as he was now? No, but still, as a center fielder, very good there. Again, I'd rather have him out there in center field than almost anybody else, other than if they bought him back, Bellinger. And if you just look at the numbers he put in for last season, 235. Now it's kind of low there, and didn't really like that. And kind of the playoffs, it was kind of a non-factor to be honest with you. But again, that's just the postseason. The 34 home runs, and again, these stats I'm going to mention right now, all career highs. The 34 home runs are career high. 116 hits a career high, 74 RBIs a career high, on base plus slugging of 812 a career high, and nevertheless, and last but not least, 82 walks also a career high. So guy had a career year at the right time for him. So you just figure when you're doing that, you'd want a bigger term deal and test the market. And if he tested the market, if the Yankees really wanted to bring him back, they could have brought him back on a long-term deal. But I guess he decided to opt in, take this option there, play one more year for the season for the Yankees, and get maybe hope from there for himself, get a bigger contract. So I think it's a good deal for the Yankees, and I didn't expect it to happen. So I'm happily being wrong about it. I think he's kind of gambling on himself a little bit, but just the fact we could bring him back for 1 more year, I'm okay with it. As for Trent Grisham as a player, it's kind of weird. They bat him leadoff a lot. I mean, he's not exactly an ideal leadoff type of hitter there, but again, where else are you going to put him in the lineup? Again, he had the big home run year. Are you going to get that again from him? I don't know. I mean, I still think he could give you. I think he'll give you, maybe 20 or more home runs. I don't know if you're getting 30-something plus there. That'd be great, but I just don't think you're going to get that again. But, just to roll the dice on 1 year, I think it's good, and it's good for the Yankees to give him a shot there. Again, only 29 years old there, so I don't think he's getting older or anything like that. And let's just say for some reason the Yankees can't retain Cody Bellinger, he doesn't come back here. You're not under that much pressure now to bring Bellinger back, because otherwise, let's say Trent Grisham walk and then you don't bring back Bellinger. Now you have some big holes in the outfield there. Because I know we have Jason Dominguez there playing winter ball, but again, we're still not 100% sure on how his defense is and what really his future plans are for the New York Yankees. Okay, Aaron Judge and the elbow should be fine for right field there, but you look at the rest of the outfield, the Yankees kind of be left kind of empty there. So at least now Trent Grisham back there takes off a lot of pressure. So if you could bring Cody Bellinger back, and we'll kind of maybe get that a little bit later there, great. If not, it's not as big deal, because at least you got your center field man, and then kind of left field, you can kind of platoon a little bit of situation again, whether it's, Dominguez, and then they decide to bring back, Rosario, which has been some news rumors that the Yankees might bring back Rosario, maybe a little platoon situation out of left field, and you can live with that there. But at least, the Yankees at least bring back one big piece, and that's center field with Trent Grisham. So the Yankees started out with the options, one of them picking up the Tim Hill option there. Of course, I mentioned before, it's with Trent Grisham. That's the qualifying offer. But now we have the first technically free agency signing, and that's the re-signing of Ryan Yarbrough, the lefty of the Yankees. Got last March kind of out of nowhere. He opted out of his deal with Toronto. Cashman picked him up there. It's like, why you bring this guy in there? But actually, it ended up being serviceable for the Yankees and really came up big. It was during that period where like Cole went down, and then Stroman was out as he was dealing with still coming back from his knee issue there, and then Clark Schmidt went down there, and the Yankee rotation was in shadow there, and he actually stepped in. It was quite decent as a starter there. Now, unfortunately, hurt his oblique, missed a couple of months. It was pretty much a non-factor once he got to the end of the season and the playoffs. But for a little period there in the middle of the season, they at least held down fort in the pitching staff before the Yankees were able to retool that in that situation. The Yankees decided to bring him back. 1-year deal for $2.5 million. I'm okay. I can live with it. Now, he's going to be 34 years old next month, so he's another year older. Then Tim Hill's the same thing. Tim Hill's 35 there, so you kind of got a couple guys in the mid-30s there. But for what you're asking these guys to do, I don't think it's terrible. It's kind of different. Again, Ryan Yarbrough is not your typical only bullpen guy. Again, he's been stretched out as a starter. He's kind of a jack of all trades. He could spot start for you. He can do a little long relief. Even to bring him out for one batter, he could bring him out for one batter or one inning there. So it's a good option for the Yankees there, and for $2.5 million, not bad at all. And if you want to look at his numbers last season overall, 3-1 for the Yankees. ERA, a little bit high at 4.36. Played in 19 games. Again, 8 of those games were started. This out of necessity. Again, he filled in and did a pretty good job there. But as a starter, though, take away this bullpen work, as a starter there, his ERA was a little low at 3.83. And overall, he held lefties to a 198 batting average. So he held left-handed hitters to hitting below 200 there. So, as a lefty, that's kind of what your job is there. So, it's a good pickup for the Yankees. Not a lot of money there. Bring him back. It seems like he can pitch here. He's comfortable here. He knows the AL East very well. He's played for Toronto. He's played for the Tampa Bay Rays. So he knows the territory here. He knows the ballparks. He knows Fenway. He knows Yankee Stadium there. So good move for the Yankees there. So I'm all for it. And again, if it doesn't work out, it's $2.5 million. If he stinks there for a month or two, again, you could just cut him. As I kind of mentioned at the top of the episode, we have a couple of new Japanese players looking to perhaps bring their talents to the States here. Now, the two of the players, kind of the big one's a pitcher, one's a third baseman. Maybe don't know much about them. I feel with the Yankees, like at this point, really, I really have no hope for any of these type of guys. I mean, you almost could pencil them in. They're going to go to the Dodgers. I mean, just why not to see where they go there. But nevertheless, they're out there. At least it seems like at this time, at least with the third baseman, maybe some other teams could be involved there, so it's not automatically all going to the Dodgers there. But kind of give the background on these guys if you're not too familiar with them. So the first one, a pitcher, that's Tatsuya Imai. Now, he plays for the Cebu Lions. He's 27 years old. Now, it looks like this week, actually it starts this week, teams are going to start, bidding for them. So how it works, there's a posting period. It goes from November 1st through December 15th. It gives the MLB teams an opportunity to pay a posting fee, and that's just to negotiate with the player. So, you could pay this posting fee and end up with zilch. But then once you do pay the posting fee, the team and the player then has a 45-day window to come to agree on a contract, and then that player will then come to the States, and of course the Japanese team gets the money from the MLB team. So it kind of works there. So this gentleman, again, I mentioned before, a pitcher, 27 years old. Last season, 10-5, microscopic ERA of 1.92, 178 strikeouts and 45 walks. And his main problem seems to be the walks, which, back, a couple of seasons ago, in 2022, he was averaging 5.1 walks in 9 innings, which is not good at all. However, over the past couple of seasons, he's gotten that down to last season, now narrowed that down from 5.1 per 9 innings to now 2.5 walks per 9 innings, which is not great. But again, he has gotten his walks down there. He's a short guy, so he's not like a big burly Tanaka type of guy there. He's kind of a little bit like Yamamoto or Hideo Nomo, kind of a smaller bodied guy there. But his fastball clocked anywhere between 93 and 97, and on occasions he can touch 99 there. But it doesn't seem like he's coming with the hoopla Yamamoto did a couple of off seasons ago, so I don't think anyone's going to be as big on this guy as they were with Yamamoto a couple of seasons ago. And Yamamoto, these guys are kind of tough. There is an adjustment period. You just don't know how they're going to adjust. Obviously, there's been some hits, some misses. We know the misses, of course, of Yankee fans. One of them being Arabu a little bit, and of course the other one being Kagawa. But then you have your hits. You got someone like Tanaka was great, Matsui was great. Even though one's a hitter, one's a pitcher, and even Hiroki Kuroda, who bounced around a little bit before he eventually came to the Yankees. He was really good at all there. So some of these guys hit and miss, but lately it seems like these guys that do come over are the legit, real deal guys versus the misses there, kind of like the Kagawas of the world, and Dice K also with Boston. pretty good there. Again, wasn't as great as though he would be, but again, overall, a pretty decent starter for Boston. He just came here a little bit later in his career. Maybe if he came here younger, it'd be a different story there. This is not a guy who would go crazy nuts over there, so I just don't think the Yankees are going to have any much interest in him. The other guy, a third baseman, infielder, a little difference because most of these guys that come over, they're usually pitchers. This guy's a third baseman, so a little bit interesting there. Muni Tanaka Murakami, a third baseman, only 25 years old, so a really young guy. Now, he's coming off a bit of a weird season. Again, didn't play a lot of games, was hurt a little bit there, so you got to watch out there. But his claim to fame, he holds the single-season record in the Japanese Baseball League for most home runs in the seasons. That's 56 back in 2022, and he beat out, that was the legendary Sadadara Ho. He held a record previously for almost 40, 50 years. He hit 55 home runs in 1964. So this guy breaking the great Ho's record, just a couple of seasons ago. But a couple of things you got to consider. First of all, that was 3 seasons ago. He hit the 56 home runs. In more recent years, in 2024, he only hit 33 home runs, so he went down about 20 home runs there in average. And then last season, I got to mention, he also missed a lot of time there. And he played on 2 different teams, so you got to take that into account. He only had 24 home runs, so seemingly like the power per year is going down a little bit, which again, he's kind of weird because he's still a young guy at 25 there, so you have to be a little cautious about that. And the batting average has also gone down recently for this guy. Again, in that big home run season where he held the season single record there, hit 318, which of course makes sense there. But more recent years has gone down a little bit. The year after that, he hit 244, which is not good. Now he bounced back a little bit. Last season hit 288, so improved that a little bit this season. But again, the situation where the home run's been going down, the batting average is going down. No really scouting on how his defense is. He's a third baseman. But again, I think you have to be a little weary of those factors there. The home run power and the batting average has gone down a little bit. So from the Yankees, I haven't heard talk there's any interest in them. Right now at third base, you have Ryan McMahon. He's under contract, really good defender. He's got some pop to his bat. He's not a good average hitter there, but I just don't think the Yankees are going to be in on this guy. You got McMahon, relatively not making much money there, under control right now. I think they liked him. I think they like his defense. Was very good there. So I don't think the Yankees are going to make a move on either of these guys. But of course, once we get moving on, and then in a couple of weeks there, you'll start seeing some teams, you see these names getting thrown around a little bit more. You're hearing some, the Phillies potentially. Of course, Dodgers always in play with there, so they could potentially end up with Dodgers, who knows like that. But if I'm the Yankees, I'm not going to pursue either of those guys, and I don't think the Yankees have any interest in them either. Now, of course, that's internationally. Of course, domestically, there's a couple of big free agents out there too. Now, this sort of class of free agents, and there's a couple of good names, but it's not like a plethora of riches there, so it's kind of limited. But probably the 2 of the bigger names, one of them, of course, being Cody Bellinger, who left the Yankees there, and the other one being Pete Alonso, the Mets first baseman, who right now, potentially could be leaving Queens. I don't think it's going to happen, but now you'd be sitting there if you're Brian Cashman or if you're Yankee, if you think, hey, look, first base, obviously, you kind of penciled, Ben Rice in there, but Ben Rice is a bit of a flexible player. We see him, doing catching duties there with Orson Welles behind the plate. He could DH a little bit, and potentially could you bring in a first baseman like Pete Alonso to be everyday first baseman. One day, maybe once in a while, you give him a day off, and you have maybe flip flop between Stanton and Ben Rice as DH there, depending on the opposing pitcher there. Would Pete Alonso make sense for the Yankees there? Now, overall, I say no. I just don't think he would fit in there. But if you would want to consider it, you'd have to be, according to John Heyman, supposedly kind of the deal he would be to get him is be somewhere around 5 years, $164 million. So you're looking at $33 million per year. Now, Pete Alonso is going to be 31 years old in the 2026 season, and having a good season again. He's always had the power, but his batting average did dip down in 2024. He did recoup himself in 2025 there, so at least that gives you a bit more faith. So his numbers was 272, 38 home runs, and 126 RBIs. Now, Josh Naylor just recently got a 5-year deal from the Mariners. That was a 5-year deal in tune of $92 million. Now, Pete Alonso, the more impressive player, he's probably going to get a bigger deal than that there. The only difference is that Josh Naylor, just a couple of years younger at the age 28 there. But again, Pete Alonso, kind of like Heyman said, he's going to cost anywhere from $150, $160 million to get him there. Would that make sense for the Yankees? I don't think so. As I mentioned before, you already kind of have Ben Rice penciled in there. I was okay with what they did last season when they had a bit of a platoon situation. You had a little bit Rice, Paul Goldschmidt. I think Rice showed enough this with the season. He had the 20 plus home runs there, plus the high exit velo and all that stuff there. I think he's also offensively going to be ready to take the next step there. So I'm happy with him being the full-time first baseman. Going up against righties and lefties as well. I don't think you need the platoon situation. Of course, DJ LeMay, we all know, is out of the equation there. You're paying basically Ben Rice nothing there, so why spend money on production on the area we got Ben Rice doing for peanuts there? So that stance doesn't make sense for the Yankees. And the way the Yankees are built there, you got a lot of right-handed power as it is with Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. Yeah, sure. Would it be nice to be like the Dodgers, just get him and who cares, and just have a great a year or two there for it to go like that? But you got to think long-term. I just don't think it makes sense for the Yankees. You already have Stanton there, and you have Stanton and Judge almost like, at least offensively, almost two power hitters there. You're going to bring in a third right-handed power hitter there. It doesn't make sense from that standpoint. And as for Stanton, you got him for 2026. Now, there's a player option 2027. Stanton most likely is going to want to take it just to stay in there and get some money there. Now, there's a team option for 2028. I think at that point, Stanton just has, another 2 incredible years in a row there. I think the Yankees are probably going to decline that 2028 option there. So it's sort of like, all right, you get him off the books, but now you still have Pete Alonso for like another 3 seasons there on your books there. So I just don't think the Yankees are going to want it, though. So I don't think it makes sense for the Yankees. And defensively, he's not atrocious, but he's not great. And, we know the Yankees got enough problems defensively in the infield there. You're okay with Ryan McMahon at third. Volpe's coming off a real tough season there at shortstop. Now, we know some of that probably had to do with his left shoulder injury there. Okay, but a little bit wild. Jazz could be erratic up and down there. Usually don't worry about his arm strength there. But, again, we saw him butcher the last game against Toronto there, butchered a ball there right up the middle there, should be handled there, and that really ended up the game for the Yankees and pretty much ended their season there. So Jazz is a little chippy there at second base as well. So the Yankees have enough problems defensively, and I'm not saying Ben Rice is great defensively there, but I don't think Pete Alonso, if Pete Alonso added a Gold Glove caliber defensive person at first base, well, then he's adding more value than just his slugging there. Then, all right, it would make sense there. But, Alonso seems to be a good catcher. I guess seems like his Achilles heel is throwing the ball. So when you have those double plays, we got to do the 3-6-3 and throw it to second base there. We see him butcher some of those there. So, he's not exactly a great defender there. So he doesn't give you much there. And yes, we know he's a great slugger there. But, as the years go on, is he going to be able to keep hitting 30-plus home runs? Maybe, maybe not there. And, we see his batting average dip down 2 seasons ago, very low there. So, was this 272 of this season an aberration there? I don't know. And I think once you're in the Yankee lineup with some other good players like Judge, I think they kind of feed each other. So, yeah, you probably would have 2 or 3 really good seasons in a row there. But, it doesn't make sense if Ben Rice could give you some good production there. Not as good production as you're going to get as Pete Alonso there, but you're paying him nothing. Why bring Alonso in here for $33 million? So, I don't see that makes sense for the Yankees, but I guess at least worth examining a little bit. Now, seeing other than maybe the Mets retaining some other teams you're hearing about that might go after Alonso, one of them being, which would make really good sense, is the Red Sox. Obviously, imagine him playing in Fenway Park with Green Monster there. I mean, you might have like 40 home runs there, so it makes sense. Plus, it looks like they're not going to re-sign Alex Bregman, so he comes off the book. So you could use that money then to go after Alonso. So I could potentially see that. Maybe the Red Sox end up with Pete Alonso. That would at least make more sense for them. They could use a first baseman, of course, there. So that all makes a little bit more sense. I just kind of have the feeling that at the last minute, just because he's a homegrown Met, and you have the whole deal with Stephen Cohen and the big deep pockets there. And plus, again, he just, not that it really makes a difference, but of course, he now holds the Met home run record, all that stuff there. I think ultimately the Mets will resign him there. Could potentially end with the Red Sox, but makes no sense for the Yankees. So that's the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Congratulations again to Aaron Judge winning the 2025 American League MVP. Hopefully he has a couple more coming to him in the next few years. And if you're the Yankee fan, you got a lot of work to do. Man, we have a whole offseason ahead of you. Again, we're going to have the winter meeting soon. There's going to be some more free agency talk. Maybe the Yankees go after one of these Japanese players. So make sure to subscribe to the audio podcast version of Section 420 Talkin Yankees. Subscribe here on YouTube. And we'll catch you next time.